It is truly a fascinating thing to watch from the psychological operations standpoint. What's happening in America right now, how people don't realize how easily they're being manipulated. It was only a few years ago that there was this massive movement called the BDS movement, Boycott, Divest, Sanction. And it was primarily populated by people on the left. These people were saying, America is too much in bed with Israel, too much influenced by AIPAC, and we need to completely get rid of any of that influence in America. Now, that was the leftist Democrat camp. There was virtually nobody on the right who was part of that camp. What's happening now? Now, there's a huge group of people on the right who are saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're going to war. It's Israel's fault. It's Israel's fault. Israel's taken over everything on the left and everything on the right. Everything on the left? How can you say Israel's taken over everything on the left when there was the BDS movement? In fact, it was such a thorn in the side of the governor of Florida that he pretty much banned the BDS movement here in Florida. Now, how many people would be for that? And aren't realizing how they're getting flipped. But it's always been the case that people said, blame the Jews, blame the Jews, blame the Jews. But how many of you have seen the contradiction now? There's a contradiction going on that nobody's seeing. Why? PsyOps. What makes PsyOps work? Emotions. If you'd like to study basic PsyOps 101, join the Florida Maquis over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. Breaking news alert, we have a brand spanking new video that we just posted, and it delves into who the real enemy of America is. And I'll warn you, it's not Israel. It's not Iran. It's not the people coming across the border. They're here. They're already here, and the statistics prove that they are the mortal enemy of American culture. And here's the best part about the Patreon channel. There's levels over there, $5, $10, $15 a month. If it's not for you, you go over there, you say, you know what? Okay, Florida Maquis, I understand how tough times are, but I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to pledge, let's say, $5 a month. You've got 90 days. 90 days from today. See, what is it? March 8th? March, April, May. It'd be June. It'd be the 8th of June. And if by then you've watched all the videos, not for you, you don't think you can afford the support, say, hey, Florida Maquis, I need a full refund. Can I have a full refund of all of my pledges 90 days from now? You can. Not a problem. So, once again, God bless. Pray on it, whatever God puts on your heart. But let's get right to it. Let's get to the contradiction. I'm sure a lot of you out there are already typing, Florida Maquis. Florida Maquis, don't you know that modern day Israel isn't biblical Israel? Because they have this DNA or that DNA or the other DNA. Well, my first question is, so you're saying during World War II, there were no German Jews? There were no German Jews, there were no Polish Jews, there were no French Jews. None of them that didn't exist. Well, wait, hold on. Those could be different. Now, hold on. You see, people don't think about that. But here's where it gets even worse. The same people who say that modern Israel isn't the biblical Israel that we're commanded to support, I would say then who the hell is? But here's where it gets, hold on. Ready for this? How can Christians support Jews? How can you say we have a Judeo-Christian society? Don't you know it was the Jews who killed Jesus? Wait a minute. I thought that modern Israel wasn't biblical Israel. How could that be if they were the ones who killed Jesus? And depending on how you look at this, the Sanhedrin encouraged the Romans to do it, but even Pilate put it to the mob. Give us Barabbas or give us Jesus. So it was truly the mob rule. Pilate said, okay, well, this is what the mob wants, and the Sanhedrin were fine with it. But you can't believe both. But even if you're secular, you say, we can't abide genocide. We can't abide. Devin, you heard about the schoolgirls that were killed and the bombs and the tomahawks, and now we got a fuel repository or an oil facility on fire? Florida Maquis, no loving God, Jesus would not be pro-genocide. Okay. This is a post from YouTube that I found that's echoing this statement. And I typed a response right off the top of my head without even having to open the Bible. This is how I know a lot of people, you haven't actually read the Bible. You've had it spoon-fed to you by preachers. God Almighty exterminated every living thing in the great flood, save 8 people, Noah, his wife, 3 sons, 3 wives, and basically what you would describe as a medium-sized petting zoo in the ark. He then proceeded to burn Sodom and Gomorrah, the twin cities that were completely unrighteous, to the ground with fire meteors. Then sent the angel of death to murder every firstborn child in Egypt. Then drowned the entire Egyptian army in the Red Sea when they gave chase after Moses. Then, once the Israelites reached the Promised Land, he ordered the Israelites to slaughter every living Canaanite, their wives, children, and livestock. Is someone going to tell me again about God and genocide or Jesus and genocide? You see, there's all sorts of stories out there and things that you're missing. If you think what's going on here now with Iran is any different than what's happened in many wars historically, it's just because we've grown too sensitive to it. But on another note, now, for those of you thinking that there's a lot more to that story, you're right. Join us, Florida Maquis Patreon channel. Love to have you over there. You see, with everything going on with Iran, people are missing the real stories. Remember how we talked about Epstein forever? Well, guess what Anna Paulina Luna has done, representative from here in Florida. Based on our, and this is her quote, based on our congressional investigations, it is my professional opinion, her speaking here, that Jeffrey Epstein was running a honeypot operation. I'm calling on oversight to bring, you ready for this? Sit down, folks. It's not what you've been told. To bring these 4 women in for questioning as co-conspirators to child sex trafficking. See, this is what's going to make Epstein go away. When they realize that Epstein was the recipient of the services the girls provided, but the actual legwork and the groundwork to get him there was all done by women and other women who hired other women and other women who contracted with other women to do it because of the money that was involved. And boy, I tell you what, if the Epstein story would result in women being put in prison, you watch how fast it goes away as anything the Democrats or anybody else wants to have to do with. Now, going to make another little left-hand turn here. How many of you remember a few videos ago me talking about how back in the 80s and 90s, things were very, very different when it came to the Me Too movement? And how a lot of these young actresses, things that were done on TV, nobody had a problem with. One of them was a 14 to 15-year-old Christina Applegate, who has now written a book. And she kind of reveals something that if you're a thinking person, you'll reveal she's been manipulated. You see, at this time, things were a lot more loose, a lot more free, more liberty was allowed in entertainment. And she was 14, 15, 16 years old when she started that role. And anybody who's ever seen Married with Children knows she had a very provocative young character, a very promiscuous teen that was rebelling against mom and dad and allowed to go do whatever she wanted to. Well, Christina Applegate cringes at Kelly Bundy's full rock star status. This show wouldn't have had a shot in hell of getting made today. But you see, she's sick now. She's older and, well, I shouldn't say she's older, she's my age. But she's got, is it Lou Gehrig's or ALS? I'm not sure what it is. She's losing control of her legs. Pray for her, God bless her. But in this particular case, I have to call her out on something. You see, she's recently published a book called You with the Sad Eyes. And let's read what's said here. By season 5, my God, I could walk into the living room as I did in episode 13, The Godfather, in a leather fringe jacket over a short red shirt, and there would be a 5-second break in the scene while the crowd hollered lustily at me. I look at all this now and cringe. The show was indeed broad and lewd, and it wouldn't have a shot being made of hell and being made these days. That's a good thing. It's hard enough for young women to thrive in a world of appearance. Now she goes on to saying that basically she had to diet like no other. In her book, Applegate wrote that she had studied body image issues. Here's where the rubber meets the road on this. Only worsened throughout the course of the show. Some days she'd only eat a single grape. Some days she'd have like a half of a quarter of a hollowed out bagel. And how she had this body dysmorphic disorder. And it was all because of these evil white men pushing these unrealistic expectations of women and all this kind of stuff. And how it was damaging her body and it was horrible and addictive and all this kind of stuff. It's funny, I never heard this story from Amanda Bierce. Also on the show, also in a few episodes, in lingerie, and incredibly attractive in said lingerie. But it gets even better. This is Salma Hayek. 27 years apart. I have never heard Salma Hayek say, oh my gosh, I can't eat anything I want to and I have to do this and this and this to stay this skinny. There are a lot of actresses out there now who are still just as attractive today as they were 20, 30 years ago. A lot of them. Some of it surgery, of course. Some of it because they have lots of money to put into it. Yes. Would have Kelly Bundy, perhaps, or Christina Applegate. The point I'm making is that it was decisions. It was decisions that were made at the time. I can even give you a personal reference. How many of you have heard of Kim Iverson? She's on YouTube. She's a political commentator. She was with The Hill for a long time. She's got her own thing going on now with Rumble. She ran Crossways of YouTube, got her account suspended. She's an incredibly beautiful girl. This is her probably 10, 15 years ago. And you can look it up historically. In this picture here, she's 40-something years old. And she doesn't starve herself. She doesn't eat only a grape a day. She doesn't eat hollowed out bagels and only a quarter of them. And just the crust and just nibble like a deer. You see, that's all gone the wayside. And in her most recent outing here on YouTube, she talks about OnlyFans. And OnlyFans' connection to AIPAC and Leon Radvinsky and how much money is going to support Israel that's coming from pornography. But you see, that's kind of my point, though. You see, she didn't have to do what she did. It was a choice. She could have looked just as attractive. I guarantee, if they had replaced Katie Sagal, the mom from All My Children, Peg, with Salma Hayek, I guarantee Kelly Bundy would have gone to second place as most attractive on the set. So you can't blame the lustful, evil white man for everything. And that's kind of leads us to who the real enemy is over at Patreon. See, a lot of people wouldn't think about it like this. They'd say, oh, poor Kelly Bundy. Oh, she had to starve herself. Oh, she had to be so skinny to be attractive. And that just has to be always the case. No, it isn't always the case. Salma Hayek doesn't starve herself. Never has. Neither does J-Lo. There's many others. Some that are even older. Salma Hayek's my age. Actually, Salma Hayek is actually older than Christina Applegate. Lots of really good female actresses and artists out there that didn't have to starve themselves. And this woman was even on the same show with her and appeared in 3 different scenes in lingerie and looked spectacular. Didn't complain about the same thing. So tell me how that's the case. See, a lot of times it's women doing this to women. That's the whole point here. And this is what Anna Paulina Luna found out with Jeffrey Epstein. It was women doing it to women. And that's sometimes people miss. Which brings us back to this, is sometimes we do things to ourselves that we'd love to blame other people on. I guarantee it's not Israel's fault we're $38 trillion in debt. It's not Israel's fault that this country is ridiculously obese now. Not his fault, not their fault. And you can go right down the list. It's not Israel's fault that the vast majority of cities in the north that are run by Democrats now have sidewalks full of human feces and they smell like weed everywhere you go. That's not Israel's fault. So, but tell me, did they kill Jesus? If they're not biblical Israel, then what was going on in World War II in Germany and Poland and France and everywhere and Italy? Tell me what was going on, because the Jews were kind of part of the story of World War II in Europe, were they not? So the fact that they have European DNA, can someone explain? So, I will leave it there. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me, I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.